I want to bring in Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, one of the Democrats who is opposed to the current government funding bill. It's good to see you, Senator. Let me ask you first, have you heard anything about what happened in that meeting between your leader and the president? And if not, is there anything scheduled so you can get briefed on that?
Well, the meeting just ended, so obviously it's not possible for anyone to know all of the details of what transpired. But I think the bottom line is that Senator Schumer explained to the president that we're willing to sit down and to negotiate with the White House and with the Republicans. Thus far, that has not happened. We are not in the room. There has been no debate. There has been no discussion. So this is a good sign. I mean, the president, I think, is finally realizing that if the government does shut down, it will be his responsibility. He will be blamed for it. So it's a good first step. But I'm sure that Senator Schumer said that we need protections for the Dreamers. We need funding for child health, for community health centers, for opioids. And at least now the president understands what we want, what we are going to need in terms of an ultimate compromise, not a capitulation, but a compromise, and what the president's going to have to say to the Freedom Caucus, to the most radical right-wing elements of the Republican Party, which thus far has served as an albatross, a veto on any real cooperation that can result in an agreement that keeps the government open.
Well, let me get an understanding of, for example, what your parameters are for an agreement. Let's say the so-called number 2 group or another group came up with a temporary DACA fix today, but agreed to continue working on a permanent solution. Would that be enough to move forward?
Well, again, we want to create some certitude for these 700,000 people. We've gone through October, a continuing resolution, November, December. Now they want another one. The whole year will be completed without having resolved this issue. The protections end in March. Everyone understands the parameters of what the problem is and what the potential solutions and compromises are. So there's plenty of time over this weekend to have all the parties in the room, including Lindsey Graham and John Kelly and whomever else would want to actually cut a deal to be able to resolve the issues. We don't need to do it temporarily. We can do it and complete this whole process and keep the government open.
We just got sound not far from where you are with Senator Cotton. Let me play that and get your reaction on the other side.
Sure.
And the Democrats are willing to shut down the government, not over the legal protection for the DACA population. We all agree to that, but willing to shut down the government because they don't want future flows of illegal immigration. They don't want future flows of arbitrary, unskilled legal immigration. That doesn't make much sense to me, and I suspect it won't make much sense to the American people.
What do you make of the president meeting with Chuck Schumer today? Just the two of them, about 90 minutes, it sounds like.
Well, I hope the president can talk some sense into Senator Schumer so we can avoid the Schumer shutdown.
And that is the phrase that we're hearing now from Republicans, the Schumer shutdown. What do you make of his argument?
Well, I think that the Republicans have a big problem because the ABC poll this morning said 48% will blame Republicans and 28% blame Democrats, and that 48% will be right on the shoulder of Donald Trump. And CBS's poll yesterday said that 87% of Americans want protection for Dreamers. So right now, the Republicans are on the wrong side of history. I think Donald Trump is starting to realize it. But again, the problem that he has is that the Freedom Caucus, which Senator Cotton represents, is just trying to pull him further away from the table where a compromise can be reached that protects the Dreamers, but also ensures that child health, opioids, and other funding get completed for a permanent solution and not this month-to-month herky-jerky, kick the can down the street way in which the government is being run by the Republicans right now.
One of President Trump and the Republicans' main arguments, and I'm sure you know this, Senator, is that the Democrats are putting the military at risk by forcing a shutdown in their way of looking at it. Let me just play a little bit of Paul Ryan for you.
Senate Democrats are treating our men and women in military who are putting their lives at risk and on the line for us as bargaining chips at this point. And they fully intend to shut down the government unless they get their way.
The group that loses big would be the military, and we're never letting our military lose at any point. We are going to fund our military.
We did see in previous shutdowns exactly what it did mean to the military. What would you say to the men and women and their families of the U.S. military?
Well, what I would say is that in 2013, when the Republicans and Ted Cruz shut down the government, that the Corps military functions continued. Military training for our personnel in Afghanistan and other countries continued. The military reported for duty as they had before the shutdown began. So they just are misrepresenting what happened in the last shutdown. They should know it since they're the ones that forced the shutdown and made the case that it wouldn't hurt the military. But if they care so much about the military, if the crocodile tears which they're shedding is actually turning into something that's real, then they should listen to what the military sent up to Capitol Hill last night, which is they want a permanent budget that is reliable, that they can deal with. Right now, we're still moving month to month to month without the military getting the certitude of the funding which they need. All the Democrats are saying is, if you want an increase in military spending, give us an increase in opioids, in child health, in the programs that help other social programs in our society, and we will cut the deal with you. They do not want to do it. So it's up to them.
Senator, we are out of time, but if you were a betting man, give me a percentage. What are the chances the government shuts down?
I'm hopeful that what Donald Trump did this afternoon in calling Chuck Schumer is an indication that he's ready to take over the leadership of the Republican Party and to isolate the most extreme wing. But what we've seen over and over again is the base keeps pulling him back every time he starts to sound reasonable in any meeting. So that's his big political historic challenge. Is he willing to be the real leader of the Republican Party?
So what do you think the chances are that come midnight, the government will have the money to continue to operate?
I would have to get inside the internal workings of the cerebral mechanism of the President of the United States and the Republican leaders, and that's impossible for a Democrat to do. But we're ready to sit down anytime, any place.
Can I just ask you what kind of response this has been getting in your office? I know, for example, around health care, you guys were absolutely inundated with phone calls and emails. And, you know, sometimes I'm surprised by what does and does not spark reaction from constituents. Where does this land?
It's right there. When the Republicans were my way or the highway on health care, we were inundated. When they were my way or the highway on the tax bill, we were inundated. And the same thing is happening right now. People are angry. They hate the fact that Democrats and Republicans can't get together, but they really hate the fact that Donald Trump is off on the side pretending he's not the president of the United States. In the Broadway play Hamilton, the best song is In the Room Where It Happens. And in that room, Jefferson and Madison and Hamilton cut the deal. It's time for Donald Trump to have Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, Nancy Pelosi in the room where it happens, and that he says that he's going to resolve it for the well-being of the American people. That's what everyone in our country wants right now, and hopefully Donald Trump now realizes that he is the only one who can put that room together.
Massachusetts Democratic Senator Ed Markey, thank you for your time, sir. Good luck.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Going forward, just one more thing. You heard Senator